watch this. Whoa!
All right.
Welcome to the show, Tanya. It's good to have you here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here
wow.
and to be interviewed by my friend, Donna. Love it.
Well, you know, let's just get right to it. Tanya, you talk about your family, your mom especially, being so important in your life. Take me through how she has shaped your life.
Well, I think
I was reading something else you said that really touched me, and let me just read it to you. It may or may not be exact. After having children, I had such a different sense of myself as a person. When you go through something like that, everything else seems trivial. That really touched me because it sounds to me that you are your own person and you're succeeding on your own terms, and you've put things in perspective. You've done that. Can a relationship survive if, in fact, there is an admission of guilt?
Yes.
What can a couple do to move past that?
Okay, let's talk about why did you get involved in this affair?
Please welcome Gemini Award winner Bruce Gray. So
Donna,
wonderful to have you on.
Good to see you.
Fabulous to see you.
Good to see you.
So, what's this about this two-home business? Your home is in LA. That's where you lay your head.
Right. And I bought a house down there. Oh gosh, it was '86, I think, and it was just because my accountant said, buy a house.
Now, what's interesting is your own childhood. You grew up in a house that was very authoritarian in a sense, and you talk about experiences that your, actually Rafi, your namesake, had in school that were very strict and discipline-oriented with punishments. You also go into how children should be honored and respected. Let's talk about that and what you found out in your experiences as a child.
Well, there's no question that my parents loved me.
Wow, looks good. And here's the man to show us how to make it all happen and how to make it all match perfectly. Carl Owens,
Hi.
design editor, Style at Home magazine. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay, now, is this a trend? Because wasn't this happening before and then it kind of got, as you say, kind of eclectic and...
A while ago, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, it was...
Yeah, the
Don't do
expensive
that out
orthodontist work.
Okay, so I take the magnet
Yeah.
and I put it in here first.
Sure.
Okay, so it's taped to that.
Okay.
And then, ooh, la
See
la,
how
that's
powerful
powerful.
Did you feel the power, Donna?
I felt the power. Now, do you have that thing in your brain still? What was that thing they put in?
chip?
Yeah.
Very nice.
You know, not everybody gets it.
I set off the alarms at the airport.
I'm sorry, Janice. You're
Okay.
my love. Okay. So should I attempt maybe touching him?
Touch him, sure.
Okay. All right. You know what? Janice, you behave. Behave.
No,
Okay. Well, it wasn't. He felt really good, and I think I'll put him in Janice's dressing room later on. I'm going to be daring, and maybe try.
Sure.
Oh,
you don't even know he's there.
Lord, have
And
mercy.
you can see the big mouth there with the big jaws.
Oh, the
See
big
those?
jaws.
Yeah.
Got big jaws, Janice.
But he's a vegetarian. But
Oh, good. That's good to know.
and some farmers would say, well, grass...
Hey, baby, oh, little boo head.
Good job,
Hey, give me a little kiss,
Coming up,
little boo-boo.
coming up on Monday, we've got the 7 habits of highly effective teenagers. We're going to talk sex with Rachel Mason, and we're also going to have Barbara Underhill on the Keep Safe Foundation. Have a good weekend. Keep safe.
They all share a secret to their success, family. WTN Weekday, Every Day Matters. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to WTN Weekday. I'm Donna Holgate. We really are having too much fun. Welcome back, everybody. Now, a lot of people shy away from cooking risotto because it involves, quite a bit of upper body strength. I mean, you really have a workout. You've got to stir all that delicious stuff that goes into it, but the rewards are wonderful. Joining us today is Chef Massimo from Mistura Restaurant, and he's here to show us how to do this amazing get fit kind of meal, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Oh, yes. This is a rib-sticking meal, yeah, actually.
What fashion can take you from one season to the next? We'll tell you today on Images. Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to Images, your daily fashion and beauty fix. Listen, guys, shop carefully for hose that match your skin tone. Don't fake a tan by wearing dark hose. It doesn't work. And you know what? Stay away from white pumps. Throw them out. Just get them out of your life. I don't like them. Okay, here's a much better look. This is great. Okay, we've got Cindy from Spanish, Ontario on the line. Cindy, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good.
I have 2 questions for you, one for myself, one for my husband.
Okay, Cindy.
He likes to wear a belt with his dress pants, say when we go out.
Yes.
But I like the looks of a suspender. Now, would he be able to wear both, or should he wear one or the other?
Definitely one or the other. It's just too much if you have a belt. I mean, what's the purpose of suspenders if you're wearing a belt? It defeats the purpose, and the look really is to pretend like the suspenders are keeping up the pant. Okay?
Okay.
Did you have another
for
question?
Myself.
Okay.
Like I got teenage daughters, and I used to wear, when I was a teenager, pumps with my jeans.
Yes.
And I still like that look, but they think, no way.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's out, or...
Yeah, listen, Cindy, I'm with your daughters. Don't do that. Please don't do that, okay? No pumps with jeans. Can't have that. But they're grooming. They're spending more time taking care of their skin, as you talked about the brow thing. They really are. I think men are just, I don't know, they're getting more into it. Just like
beards
fitness.
in now with guys, or the women like beards on a man?
Just like yours. Let me come here. Let me have a look. Yeah. You see, it's, oh, this is good. It's shaven very close. Do you like this?
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. That sort of look is it. Yeah. Are you there? Okay. This is so great. It's wonderful. What a great feeling. It's the best feeling in the world at this point in my life. Oh, and to hold this little wonderful, little beautiful boy. Oh, that was so fabulous. Please welcome the director of the Bowmanville Zoo, Michael Hackenberger, and his son, Kurt, who is Limba's best friend. Is that right? Do you like Limba a lot? He was wonderful.
Or they just find other outlets for their creativity. I hope.
Yes, yeah. I think it's really interesting, and I'm trying to think back. I guess I should ask my parents if we had, you know, when we were growing up, if we had the same thing, because you look at all the toys that are out there, the interactive toys that are out there now, videos, things that your imagination is really suppressed. And I'm wondering if this generation of youngsters have as much of an imagination as we did, you know, in the earlier generations.
What worries me, because I think
it's really teaching them to love themselves totally and completely. That's hard to do for adults, as you said, because, I mean, you open up a magazine and you see an image, and if you don't look like that image, you're going to have a lot of self-doubt and wonder if you're, some self-loathing as well. So to teach somebody who's 7 to question what they see and not accept images has got to be difficult. I wonder if because of these fathers' rights groups that are now speaking up, if that may have prompted the Senate to re-examine the Federal Divorce Act.
I think in part the lobby groups, these...
That may be a bit of a contradiction. People assume that rock bands have to leave this country to make it big, and you're saying that we do have a great fan pool here that really supports our bands. What do you say? Put on your fat pants.
Put on your fat pants.
I love that.
You're in my book.
I had to read your book. Are you kidding? Put on your fat pants.
Well, the reason I wrote that is because I kept my maternity pants. And when I wrote the dessert section, trust me, I had to put them on because I had to lie on the floor to do my jeans up.
That's too funny. You were giving birth to wonderful food.
Oh, that's a nice way to
Hey,
put it.
good heavens, there is no possible way without you there.
Look,
Can
Janice
I
has
do
got
this?
one.
I'll try. No, you know what? Do you see what's happening? Just my knee, my ankle.
Well, you have to start there.
Can't do
Get
it.
as much as you can, but you have to concentrate.
Okay.
Use all the muscles in here,
Okay,
and especially
Come on,
in
I've
here.
done 3 already, Donna.
Oh, you know it's the youth thing. It's got to be youth. Can't do it.
I'll guide you through it one more time.
I am so embarrassed.
Okay, ready? Concentrate.
Yeah, I'm concentrating.
Ready? 1, 2, up, squeeze.
Squeeze.
Okay, open. Now I want you to hold it there on your own. Hold it. There, you've got it. Hold it, and then release.
Now, how many should we do of these?
Well, this one's a lot tougher.
Janice,
and you
I
see,
can't do one.
Janice has got this really well. Like, I mean, again,
I don't have it.
It's pressure of performance.
what you all have to realize too is that everyone's body's a little bit different.
Very different. Yeah, I don't think Mag needs a commercial break. She needs a hotel room. When we return, a lesson in self-presentation, how to make the most of that first impression, and later on, how one weekend can really make a lifetime of memories. We'll see you in a little bit. You're getting all fired up. When I was reading this book, the first thing that came to mind is, what a struggle. I mean, it's not glamorous to kind of make it, you know, especially on the road in this country. Why is it such a difficult life, especially in the beginning?
Well, it's a hard country to travel. I don't think you have to be a musician to know how hard it is to just get out of Ontario. It's like 25 hours to get out of Ontario. So the geography itself makes it really tough just to navigate, right? And the cities are really far apart, you know, like 7 hours between Regina and Winnipeg. And I remember when we toured in the UK for the first time, we played a show and then we got back to the hotel, and then our road manager said that we had to be in the lobby by 1 o'clock, and we were all stunned because we thought she was, you know, she was wrong, because we're used to getting up at like 8 o'clock in the morning to drive 7 hours, but the towns are so close together in the UK, so it's pretty easy to tour in any other country. I think touring in Canada kind of hardens you and toughens you and makes it easy to kind of go elsewhere and play.
Okay, that's interesting. So the geography is one. Obviously, the climate is another.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah. Touring in the winter is goofy.
Yeah, but you have to do it.
Yeah, I guess. You don't have to do it, though. But yet we do it. I think we're very strange. We're way stranger than we give ourselves credit.
Now, you have to explain that.
It's true. I mean, well, what else? I mean, where's the sense in that? You know, it's like, you know, there's to be news reports like, don't drive, don't go out. Yet there we are in the van looking through the frosty windscreen trying to get from town to town to town.
But this
because
is your
we
passion.
have to. Because it's in our, I don't know, I guess it's some fault in our gene pool or something. That we have to go out there and tour in the wintertime because it's goofy. Most people in their right mind wouldn't do it.
Again, but it's your...
I guess we like the challenge.
Right, you choose to do it. Now, the book...
I mean, the country was settled, and there's no reason for that many people to be living in Edmonton.
So they should all, like, just come closer. But, you know, we have a big viewership in Edmonton. And
I know, but you look on a map, it's farther north than Thunder Bay. I mean, you get to Thunder Bay and you think, man, it's amazing that people live up here. And it's amazing that there's a great rock scene. And it's amazing that it's even more amazing that there's a great rock scene in northern Alberta.
Something else you talked about Alberta, the kids drive, there was a kid that drove for 12 hours to see a show. Now, that's a fan, don't you think?
Yeah, totally.
And that's in the winter, probably snow. He had to make it through who knows what to get it. So this is the kind of, I mean, fan you have out west.
Yeah, Canadian rock fans, I think, are really passionate and stuff. And this book has, like, musicians from, you know, 25 years ago and musicians that are going today. And I think one thing that they talked about is, you know, the commitment of fans and stuff to bands that they love. That's probably happens all around the world, but there's a real strong spine of that in throughout Canadian popular culture and music anyways. That
may be a bit of a contradiction. People assume that rock bands have to leave this country to make it big, and you're saying that we do have a great fan pool here that really supports our bands.
Yeah, it's more and more now. I think there's a bit of a middle level in Canadian rock, whereas before it was only the top bands and the small groups. But now there's a bit of a fat middle ground where bands can kind of get from record to record and have, you know, a decent kind of fan base and go into each town, and more people will show up. So, like, kids that used to go and see cover bands at colleges and universities are now going to see weird alternative bands. So I think that's pretty good.
Now, tell me the reason why you wrote this book, because it definitely is a history of Canadian rock that seems different, maybe, as you said, than other countries.
Yeah, there was, well, sure. I mean, I think it's, you know, in music anyways, we know a lot about our literary tradition and you know, the theater and sports, certainly hockey and stuff. But I don't think there are a lot of books out there that really kind of dignify the Canadian musical experience. But it's been totally rich and unique to our country for the very reasons we discussed earlier.
Right.
So, yeah, and those stories hadn't been told. I mean, half the people I was talking to were surprised that the phone was ringing and that there was somebody on the other end of the line that actually wanted to talk to them about their lives and stuff. So
I was reading it and found things I didn't know. I mean, well, there are a couple stories I thought were really interesting. First of all, groupies. Who was it? I think it was the Guess Who that talked about groupies, and there was one in particular that seemed to be there for everybody.
Well, that was Connie she's in Little Rock, Arkansas, and she was such a popular groupie. She used to have her own bumper sticker, and bands who would, you know, cross paths with her would take the bumper and put it on their van, so other bands
knew, and it had her name and phone number on it.
Name and phone number, yeah.
Okay, now.
So Connie, and Grand Funk Railroad wrote a song about her. So.
Oh, she's, you know, I think I heard about that. The other thing is finding out that bands like Parliament Funkadelic was Canadian or based here in Toronto.
Yeah, this has never been confirmed, but I think George Clinton, one of the reasons he called the group Parliament was because he lived in Cabbagetown on Parliament Street in Toronto. And yeah, they were managed by Ron Scribner, who used to manage Zoom, and Alice Cooper, and he was a Toronto guy and stuff. So yeah, Parliament Funkadelic, great. And the first album was produced by Terry Brown, who later went on to produce the first Rush album and subsequent Rush records, and it was recorded in Toronto and stuff. So yeah, there was, for a while, there was a real, like, cross-border thing happening between Detroit and Toronto and that border. And Rosalie Tremblay, who was one of the most influential radio programmers, and one of the first strong, real, women in Canadian music in the late 50s and 60s. She broke Motown, basically, in the States, and it was a Windsor radio station that was playing all those records that Detroit stations wouldn't touch.
I think we as Canadians had quite a hand in this industry, in this business that, again, we are not given credit for. And the fact that this book chronicles it really helps, especially up-and-comers, people that want to know the industry and the history of it. This is where you go.
Well, people talk about jazz, starting in New Orleans, and one of the great foundations of music in New Orleans was started by the Acadians, and those were exiled Canadians from the Maritimes who went down south. So some people think that the very roots of modern music came from the Maritimes by way of the southern United States.
Really?
So,
wow.
yeah, we definitely had a hand in shaping the music that we listen to today, for better or worse.
Well, I think it's for better. And listen, right before you go, any advice for VIP who we had on the show, just from your benefit?
Well, Geddy Lee once said, always bring your wallet on stage, and I think that's pretty good advice, because the dressing rooms, credit card, you're in there, no problem.
Dave Bedidi on a cold road, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Donna.
Okay, now, if you want to get a hold of us, if you have a story to tell, here's how to find us. Please welcome Gemini Award winner Bruce Gray. So
Donna,
wonderful to have you on.
Good to see you.
Fabulous to see you.
Good to see you.
So, what's this about this two-home business? Your home is in LA. That's where you have your head.
Right. And I bought a house down there. Oh, gosh, it was 86, I think. And it was just because my accountant said, buy a house.
Oh, it's that easy?
It's an investment.
Okay.
And I'm not a shopper, so I went out one day and I looked at 4 homes and I bought the 4th one.
Well, what is it in that house that made you decide to buy it, even though you're not a shopper? It must have had something.
I didn't like the other 3.
There must have been something that said, buy me. What was it?
It had 51 trees on the property.
Oh.
That was good.
Wow.
Also, I couldn't see the neighbor to the left, to the right, or behind me.
Privacy, good.
And I'm up in the Hollywood Hills, so I looked down on the rest of the street.
Oh.
That was good.
A little God complex, okay.
I like that.
Okay.
And then also, I had been told that Don Amici's brother had been the architect, and I like kind of that there was a little bit of a Hollywood thing going on.
The history.
Yeah.
But you're there 3 months of the year, so why would you buy a home there? You're here, what, a good 9 months, are you?
Well, that's the way it is now, but back in 86, I was there and only up here for a little bit.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So
This
it
has
made
all
more
happened because of traders. Everything got shifted around, and now I'm up here.
Okay.
And going back to the house in 1st of March.
But this is your house. I mean, this is your base, you're saying.
Yeah, and it's got my stuff in it. You
Well,
know, like George, you've seen George Carlin's routine about getting your stuff and having your stuff, and then finally to have to buy a house to put your stuff in. It's a great bit. But anyway, that's where my stuff is. And there's something about being able to go back to your stuff at the end of the day.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's comforting.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't have your stuff here, so that's got to make you feel a little
I'm
displaced.
living in someone else's
stuff.
Oh.
Someone who likes peach brocade.
Oh,
I'm not going
dear.
to go any further than that.
Well, tell me what you like. You brought a few photographs of that beautiful home that you have. Now it's small, it's comfortable. Let's have a look at some of the. Oh, what are we looking at here?
That's a front hall. You just come into the front hall, and there's like a little demi-lune, I think they call it, a half-round table in front of a mirror. There's a dining room, a Navajo rug, and a Duncan Fife table on it.
I like the colors that you've used. Very warm,
Yeah,
very comfortable, inviting.
I'm on the
colors.
north side of the hill, and we don't get a lot of direct light coming in the window, so I wanted to make it warm inside.
It definitely is.
And there's a living room with my pet snake.
Oh, you have to have a snake, huh?
Well, actually, it's latex.
Oh.
I'm a big coward. I'd scream if I saw a snake like that.
Okay.
I have this thing about the kitchen. I don't want anything in the kitchen but clean surfaces.
Well, it's
no knickknacks
spotless.
around.
Well, no, knickknacks can get in the way, but I like the way that looks. Very nice. Okay, a lot of very open.
Yeah, and you're sitting at that counter in the morning, looking out that window.
What are you seeing out there? One of the 51 trees?
I'm looking down on the neighbors from my godlike.
Oh, very nice. Wow. Now, you decorated your house on your own?
Well, it's decorated seems too purposeful a word for it. It's just stuff. It's just my stuff, and I put it together in that kind of way, and it isn't a style of anything. You know, David Cubitt came to visit me, and he said, honest to God, Bruce, you've got so many African masks and goat speared knives, and I don't know what else. It looks like something dangerous is going to happen.
What does this say about you and your character? Tell me, because your house is a reflection of what's happening here.
I know. So my idea is that you come over for a drink.
Yeah.
And then you have another drink, and we relax.
Okay.
But then what happens is I don't want you to get too comfortable. There's snakes around. There's goat spears.
There's a big old ugly mask looking at you.
There's a big old ugly mask. You're not going to stay for dinner.
Oh, so there's a purpose behind the decorating.
Yeah,
Let's talk about this career you've had, Bruce, that has been so successful, and I mean, you have done really well. Now, what kind of gets me a little nuts is I'm thinking, Masters in Psychology, Gemini Award-winning actor. I'm trying to figure out where
how those two come together, and you know what? I don't think they do. Sometimes things don't, or maybe they do, and I don't know.
Well, they must, because you have to figure out characters, so you have to be able to.
Except I don't figure out character by its psychology.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, psychology is such a science of figuring things out mathematically.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And
Okay,
giving tests and all that stuff.
Very analytical.
And that's all kind of very left-brain activity. And acting to me is much more right-brain, instinctive. You know,
so what made you decide to go from one to the other? I mean,
I studied for 5 years at university. I got the degree, and I went off to be in it. And after 3 months, I hated it.
Well, good enough. And
so
then,
I thought, what would I like to do now? Follow your bliss.
Travel to England.
Travel to England, and I got started in the theater and started working in various theater companies, and the rest, as I say.
It's history, and we're so proud of you here in this country and all over the place. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm getting that. We gotta go. We gotta go. Will you come back?
I'd love to. We'll talk some more about the house.
We must. We should actually come down. I'm waiting for the invite. Okay.
Yeah, no, make it a deal.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Bruce Gray.
Bye, Donna.
Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Now, there's nothing unusual about our kids inviting a friend over to play, but what if those friends exist only in their imagination? Do we smile and just let them play? Well, Dr. Diane Sachs is a pediatrician whose patients sometimes have imaginary friends. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sachs.
Thank you.
I was saying before the show about my daughter, Michaela, who's 4 now, but at the age of 2, she really got into these 2 little friends she had. She's always on the phone with them. And it seemed that she would go to them a lot in the evening, and she was always busy telling me what they were doing and what was going on in their lives. I guess as a parent, I just wonder why this happens and how a parent reacts to it. Let's start with why it happens.
Well, I think it happens, and it generally happens around 2. It happens with children when they start having to separate from their parents. Whether it's emotionally, parents could be home, but they know now that the parents have lives outside of their life, and it's gradual separation. And so that they need to have some security to take in to their separate lives without mommy and daddy. And so they'll bring an imaginary friend along. And it's really only a lucky some who have the ability and the imagination to have a fantasy friend. Not all children can.
I notice that with my son, who is 2. He has no interest in imaginary friends. He's very kind of, you know, down to earth and foot on the ground kind of guy, and I don't see any of that happening with him. Now, why is it that some children do it and others don't?
No, it's not because, used to think that it was because of security. Some kids are more secure and don't need imaginary friends. It really is that we develop different approaches to thinking. Some much more factual, concrete-based, without creativity, and others are creative from very, very early on. I used to say that most of the scientists I know are certainly very factual based, but I know some creative scientists.
Oh, do you?
They're 1 or 2.
Okay.
They don't become doctors, though. We're not creative. So I think what you're seeing is 2 different kinds of thinking.
Okay.
You know, a kid who needs as a basis for his play something he's seen, touched, smelled, you know, whereas the other kid can just pull it out from some wonderful place in their heads, and those are the kids who have imaginary friends. And use them appropriately.
So it can be then a sign of creativity and a more artistic child, you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not generally a sign of insecurity. It really isn't. So when you ask, should you invite them in, the answer is yes.
Yes.
But you have to stay out of their lives.
This is something, yes, I think parents need to know. What do we do?
Yeah.
Encourage it? Discourage it? What?
Oh.
And how do we interact?
You mentioned 2, and I think 2 is a good time to practice for teenagers, but you enter in only when invited, okay? And you don't want to go in that room anyway, and I'm not sure I'd want to go into an imaginary friend's room where mommy can be mean from time to time, and the kid never does anything wrong, you know.
Okay, yes.
So that you have to, I encourage it in terms of of acknowledging that it exists, and not saying this friend, you know, oh, you're just pretending.
Or
and
stop it. Or,
that's right.
Okay.
But you don't enter unless you're invited, so to speak.
When you say don't enter, for instance, if you want your child to do something like brush her teeth, you don't say your imaginary friend is brushing her teeth, because then you're taking part in her little fantasy.
That's
is that,
right.
And you
she will dislike that imaginary friend as much as she does her brother or sister who brushes her teeth all the time.
Okay.
No, no, no.
So never
she's developing that person. And that whole scenario, it's usually they have long stories. I don't know if your daughter does that. It keeps going. It's,
from they're at school one day, they're out shopping the next. But the strange thing about Michaela's little Ropanini is that they don't, I know there are two of them, I guess, they don't seem to ever come home to the house. I don't know if that's, again, part of it or...
I don't know. Sometimes they need it in places where they're stressed. They haven't learned to deep breathe
like school
and hum or whatever. So sometimes they bring their imaginary friends when they're stressed. Other times, as I said, they just want to keep it to themselves. And she may be there, Ropanini. I love how, that's wonderful. We're talking creative.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from.
She may be there at night or even in her dreams, you know. But they are in charge of that whole world, you know.
So just let them be. Don't enter into it.
And envy it. It ends, unfortunately, around 5 or 6 when we fill their world with concrete things to do and think, and you know.
Yeah, I noticed that because she is 4 now, and she talks about them once in a blue moon. So is that the basic pattern, starting around 2?
Yeah.
Is it developmental in these children? Is it something that must happen with creative children, or should happen?
No. It happens, and it can't happen much before 2. That's the developmental aspect of it, or at least we don't recognize it. But it generally fades out by the time they're 6, and that's probably the developmental limits are only in terms of these ages and stages, not so much that it has to happen or not happen.
Now, at 5 or 6, how do they let go of it? Is it, again, is it developmental in that stage, or no? You say at that point it isn't?
No, I think they fade away. I think that if there is an emotional need, that seems to be, you know, disappearing. And if there's a creative need, maybe they find either, as I said, their lives are too busy, and or they just find other outlets for their creativity. I hope.
Yes, yeah. I think it's really interesting, and I'm trying to think back. I guess I should ask my parents if we had, you know, when we were growing up, if we had the same thing, because you look at all the toys that are out there, the interactive toys that are out there now, videos, things that your imagination is really suppressed. And I'm wondering if this generation of youngsters have as much of an imagination as we did, you know, in the earlier generations.
What worries me, because I think creative kids can take those horrible plastic toys and television and make them even more creative. What worries me is that we have decided what's normal. And and kids get messages easily by 2 or 3. Right. What's normal, what will be made fun of. And so, you know, they hide their little blankie that they really want and their little leftover whatever. I won't say anything like pacifier.
Yes.
On a women's show.
Isn't that interesting, though? That's neat. Go ahead.
So that I think that they really learn early not to tell us about it. So we're not really sure. Maybe more kids have imaginary friends than we know. I hope so.
I hope so too, because it seems like a good thing. So it's all right though to have these other toys there. I mean, it shouldn't be a deterrent for the imagination.
No, that's another story about how many toys and all those toys. But certainly toys will not take a kid with creative imagination and squash it.
So overall, this is a good thing. These little imaginary friends that Janice's brother Chris had and that my daughter has, this is all okay, it sounds like to me.
Well, I don't know about Janice's brother, but I know
well, he's 27 now. But,
but for most of them, it's just a marvelous kind of backup to real life.
Thank you, Dr. Diane Sachs. A pleasure. Now, if you have any imaginary things or real things you want to talk to us about, here's how to get a hold of us.